There's so many nuances in dental that you've really got to know your stuff. And I believe, and I've seen it in the results, that if you know those nuances and you really understand a dental practice's challenges, you will make them more successful than just a general agency trying to figure it out.
Hello there and welcome to the My Future Business Show. My name's Rick Nusky. I am your host. It's wonderful to have you here. We've had a bit of a short break over the last couple of weeks to go away on holidays, but it is wonderful to be back, and it's always great to feel refreshed about doing this show. Love being your host, and if you're here for the first time, I know you're in for a treat. Now, on today's show, I have the pleasure of welcoming author and award-winning digital marketing agency owner, Chris Pistorius. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hey, thanks for having me, Rick.
Absolute pleasure. Now, you and I are going to be talking about all of the tools and techniques that you can start using today to make digital marketing work in your business. Now, that is a very broad brush statement. We're going to go deep into digital marketing because I know that that is your specialty, along with some other things that you're doing at Kickstart Digital Marketing. So where are you calling in from today, Chris?
I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Ah, beautiful. I love the place. Now, what are your favorite locations and landmarks there?
There's too many to probably list, but my family and I ski, so we love Vail, Keystone, Copper Mountain. But honestly, those same mountain areas in the summer, I almost prefer because there's not as many people and it's just beautiful up there and it doesn't get hot. And I mean, just Rocky Mountain National Park is beautiful. There's just a lot here.
Yeah, and it does certainly get cold by comparison, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. Yeah.
Now, tell me, I know that the Red Rock Amphitheater is just a wonderful place for shows. How far away is that from you?
Maybe 45 minutes. It's not very far at all. And I've been to a lot of different venues throughout the country in the U.S., and it is by far the best.
Oh, look, I've watched the show there and seen a few things there, and I was just blown away. Just the ambience of the place. Is it quite large? It certainly looks large.
It's not as big as you think. It's not like, if you went to a stadium, tour, for instance, or a concert. I'm not sure how many people it holds, but it is pretty intimate. It's not a huge venue.
Yeah, it's probably a good thing. Now, tell me, what's your favorite music?
I listen to a lot of different things. I love rock, love country. Not a big rap fan, probably.
No, me neither.
But if it's good, I'll listen to it.
Now, tell me, you touched on it a little earlier, but what are the things you enjoy getting into in terms of specific sports and hobbies?
Yeah, I've got kids, teenage kids, so they keep me busy with sports and whatnot. Yeah, but I do like to play golf, so I golf quite a bit, as much as I can anyway.
Look, I tell you what, if you play with me, Chris, I'd be able to call the fairways for you. That's about the sum of the parts for me. Are you any good at it?
Yeah, I got you. But that's about it for me right now.
I love being a hacker. I do enjoy having a walk around, and it's just like a moment of serenity, isn't it?
Yeah, it for sure is.
Do you do 9 or 18?
Usually 18 if I can. If I got stuff going on, I'll try to get a quick 9 in.
Yeah, well, I tell you, the last couple of rounds I played, I got lazy. I hopped on a buggy. Do you prefer to walk, or are you a buggy guy?
No, I don't walk. It's hard to keep my beer cold if I'm walking.
Oh yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now you've got kids. Presumably, they love pets. Do you have pets in the family?
Yeah, we've got a lot of pets. We've got 4 dogs.
Oh, what sort of dogs you got?
3 golden retrievers and 1 little Chihuahua Italian Greyhound mix.
Isn't that funny? Most people that I speak with, they've got large dogs combined with small dogs, and you would never think that goes well.
And it's hilarious because the small dog's the leader. The big dogs are scared to death of her. So
now let's wind back the pages of time. You've got kids now. Do you ever see yourself in your kids, and what's a childhood memory that you can recall of your own time growing up? Something fun.
Oh, geez, that's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. There's a lot. I would think probably the time my dad took me to back then, the St. Louis Cardinals football team was still in St. Louis. Now they're in Phoenix, Arizona. But I grew up close to there, and my dad took me to a training camp of theirs, and we got to be able to meet like some of the players and whatnot. And I knew a lot of them, their names, and so that sticks out.
There's lots of inspirational people as we're growing up, Chris. I had my father. You've touched on your father then. Who was inspirational in your life as you were growing up into these formative years?
Yeah, I think, certainly my dad played a big role. Unfortunately, my grandparents, my grandfathers anyway, I never met. They had passed away before I was born.
Yep.
So, you know, I think I played baseball growing up as a kid, and I think there were some coaches along the way as well. My high school coach, college coach, people that I kind of look up to and respect that were interested in the same similar things that I was.
Do you believe in the idea that the people that you hang around you become like?
Without question. Yeah,
Yeah.
we were at a baseball camp for my son actually recently, and they brought that up. He's like, you show me your 2 to 3 best buddies you hang around with now, and I'll show you what your future is going to look like in 5 years.
Yeah,
And I
great feedback.
totally believe that.
Yeah, great feedback. Now, I can only imagine how busy a day is for you. What's a day look like? Are you an early riser, and what happens after then?
Yeah, I'm more of a night guy, so I like to stay up late and work and do things. Sometimes it varies though. I've got a team. We've got a team of about 20 people here at my company, so um, I've got a really good management team that takes on a lot of the heavy lifting, like on a daily basis for us.
Yeah.
And allows me to focus on the stuff that I really like to, like, big picture, new product, new service. What can we do different or better to help small businesses, thrive? And so a typical day is around that and meeting with people. And I'm part of a couple masterminds of agency owners as well. And we always talk about, different ideas and things that are working, things that aren't. And then I try to plug that into what my company does. So my day's pretty full of that, and then
Yep.
kids and a little bit of golf, and I'm back in bed.
Oh, I love it. It's funny how quickly the time goes by, isn't it? Now, with small
Yep.
businesses, there's certainly a large number of startups, entrepreneurs, small business owners who are scared to let go of the reins. They're trying to be
Yep.
solopreneurs. Did you ever go through that phase, and how did you transition from being that person doing, I guess, say, I assume, most of the work, to handing it off and starting to manage teams of very competent people?
Yeah, I struggled with that for a long time. In fact, I wasted a lot of time because when I first started, I really didn't build a business. I built a job for myself, right? And what that means that if I take off for a week of vacation, the company has to shut down because I'm really the only one doing this stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we talked about mentors and people I looked up to, and it was probably, I don't know, maybe 10 years ago, I got involved in a mastermind group called the 7-Figure Agency. It's ran by Josh Nelson, and he completely changed the way I looked at my agency. At the time we were trying to serve, all types of industries versus now we're just really in dentistry. He taught us how to niche into that. It just really helped our focus, but he also talked a lot about, creating a business versus a job, and, creating a business that you can walk away from and it's still running and still doing well. Right.
Yep.
And then allows you to focus on the things that you're good at and the things that you want to focus on, and allows you to take off time when you want to. Right.
Yep.
So I think that, that was a big part of that 7-Figure Agency, of learning how to do that.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's very relevant to talk about that for other people that you would work with, obviously.
Yeah.
Now, do you still ever have those, I guess, those questions in your mind? Look, you've got possibly somebody managing personnel, and is there an element of trust there, or is it all based on very well defined processes? What's the balance?
Yeah, there is, I still have, thoughts of, are we really doing the right things here? Am I too far away from everything now? Meaning, are we really doing the quality work that I want to make sure that we're doing? But I've got a very experienced management team now. The manager, the leadership team has been with me for quite a bit, or for quite a while. I do trust them. It's just a matter of, I think a lot of business owners could surprise themselves by letting go of some of those reins, because you think that, you've got it figured out and you know how to do it. And sometimes you think, you know what, it's easier if I just do it myself, and then I know it'll get done.
Yeah.
But you hamstring yourself so bad by doing that, allowing your business to grow. And then you let go the reins a little bit.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, one of your managers or somebody comes up with a better idea than you had on how to do something. And you're like, oh,
imagine that.
Maybe I'm not the smartest person in the room, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for the feedback. I know a lot of, as I said, startups and those with less experience will be taking a great deal of value from this call, Matt. I wonder,
Yeah.
I look back to my early days growing up again, and I remember my first entrepreneurial experience was washing cars. What was yours?
Uh, Ooh, what was mine? What was I doing? I started I didn't really do anything other than like lemonade stands and stuff, as a kid. But
Yep.
when we had our first child, so probably 20 years ago, I started an online clothing business.
Ah,
And I
ecom.
started it on eBay. And so I would go to like local malls and find racks of clothes that were at like 75% off. And I would just buy like complete racks of clothing. And then I would just, put them on sale on eBay in my store and off to the races. So I think that was probably my first real taste of this.
Yeah, it's wonderful that you say that because I know somebody else is doing that even to today. That
Really.
they're arbitraging, buying low, selling high. There's so
Yep.
much opportunity out there. What would you say to those people who are frustrated that I don't have an idea for a business that is absolutely brand new?
I would say yes, you do. I think a lot of business owners, kind of get caught up in trying to find a new idea,
Yep.
when sometimes you don't have to do that, right? You just take an idea that's already existing, a type of business already existing, and just put your spin on it, put your passion in it, and make it better. And I wouldn't be so concerned about doing something unique or new or coming up with an invention, for instance. I would just really focus on really what you're passionate about.
You strike me as an individual, Chris, who's gone through a learning curve, and you value, I guess, personal development and understanding how things work in the world. How important is the mindset component to all of that?
I still struggle with that today.
Mm,
It's I think owning a business is, it's a roller coaster ride. Even after I've done it now 15 years with this agency,
yep.
there's days that are awesome, and then there's days you're just like, what am I doing? Why am I still doing this? And so I think especially I think there's something called an imposter's
Syndrome.
syndrome.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm sure you've heard of that.
Yep.
And, I would love to say that, oh yeah, I left all that back 10 years ago, but I haven't.
No.
In those times when like maybe a client cancels or something doesn't go the way, I mean, we had an outage this morning, for instance,
Yep.
with all of our call tracking phone numbers. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So we got clients calling us and they're upset, and we're like, are we doing the right things here for clients? Are we imposters in doing this? And we've been doing it for 15 years, right?
Yes.
So I think you'll always struggle with that at least a little bit. But I think as you build a business, you've got a lot of legacy to look back on. And so as you gain some experience, times like that aren't so worrisome, because you can look back and say, geez, man, I mean, last year I grew 20%, my clients grew 40%.
Mm.
I'm doing the right things here, but you just got to understand that there's going to be those ups and downs.
Now, you have a team of people who are very competent, very good professionals in what they do. What's the one thing that you do very well out of all that?
That's a great question. I'm not sure, honestly.
A bit of mix of everything?
um, you know, I think, I don't know if, are you familiar with EOS? Have you heard of
Yes.
that before?
Yep.
Yeah. We implemented EOS, or Entrepreneurial Operating System, about a year ago, a year and a half ago. And it really helped me identify what all of our team is good at and what we're not so good at,
Mhm.
right people, right seat type thing. Right.
Yep.
And I think for me, it was very clear that I'm a visionary. So I really like to look at the big picture and where the future's going and come up with the big ideas. I'm not so good with the follow through and actually executing everything that I'm visioning. So I think that's probably what I'm best at, is just trying to look at everything big picture.
I love the fact that you've identified that you know what those strengths are, but you know that you're human, and then sometimes you fall short of the mark. And I think that's a
Yeah.
really good takeaway for our listeners today. I know that you're a family man, you're a businessman, but what makes life worthwhile for you?
I think it's helping our clients. I mean, I'm stealing this from Google or somebody, but our motto is kind of, we don't ever want to we always want to leave our clients better off than when they started with us.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And, these business owners that we work with, I mean, this is their life that we're playing around with. And I think, unfortunately, there's a lot of people in my industry and in the, marketing world that don't really understand that. They're trying to make a quick buck, and, they're looking for profits and, EBITDA and all this other
All
stuff
that.
where, over the years, yeah, it's important. But if you're doing the right things for the right people, the money should be able to take care of itself. So I think for me, what really keeps me going is, we can take a practice that is struggling, a dental practice, and in a year or two, they're not struggling and they're looking to buy another practice.
That's great feedback.
That's a motivator for me.
Well, we'll be talking a lot more about Kickstart dental, digital marketing for dental and other just general digital marketing shortly. But I know that you enjoy doing lots of different things. Do you have anything on your bucket list? Do you want to travel? What's left for you? What do you want to do?
Yeah, we just got back from a pretty big trip to Europe. My daughter is in college, and she spent a semester studying in Ireland. So we were in London for a week and then to Ireland for a week. So that was a pretty big trip for us.
I love it.
Yeah. So, I love to play golf, and I love to play golf in exotic places. So, that's always on the list. And, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different
PGA
things.
Tour guy. I can tell it's coming.
Yeah.
Now, tell me, how'd you get started in digital marketing? Where did this all come about?
Yeah, so this will age me pretty well, but you probably remember AOL, or America Online.
I'm not going to say
right?
I admit to that, but I admit to that.
Yeah. So I started there. I talked some manager into hiring me with no advertising experience really. And I started selling ads with AOL, so like banner ads, and I just kind of fell in love with it. I love talking to business owners about growing their business. And I learned a ton about digital marketing before it was even really digital marketing. And I stuck with it, and I worked for a couple of different digital agencies until I started my own. But I just knew it's one of those things that before that I would get out of bed and be like, oh, do I really want to go do this? But this was something that I was, looking forward to, and I wanted to get out of bed because I love doing it so much. So it was a natural fit for me.
Yeah, I love digital marketing. It's funny you talk about banner ads, because it seems to me that some of the most purest forms of that digital marketing, let's say for banner ads, are still relevant and prevalent today. What's one of the, I guess, the standouts for you in terms of all the tools and techniques?
There's just so many tools or techniques. There's so many things. So banner ads are absolutely still around, but they're smarter. We use banner ads now for local businesses, but we use them in a manner for retargeting. So like, say somebody goes to your website, right? Well, we put a little cookie in their browser, and when they leave your website and they go on to Google's partner sites or Facebook or something, all of a sudden a banner ad will pop up reminding them that they've been on your site and to take action.
It's crazy, isn't it?
It's not like you just buy thousands of banner ads and you hope something sticks. Now it's targeted to people that have already shown interest in your business. One more quick example are postcards. I'm very anti postcard because it's very, send several thousand out and hopefully somebody's ready to buy, right?
Shotgun.
But we use postcards now where we can trigger it based on a website event. So if they come to your website, we can capture their mailing address and name without them filling anything out, and actually send them a physical card in the mail automatically that'll show up on their doorstep in 2 to 3 days. And it's just targeted because we know they've been to the website. So it's just smarter, right? It's just, there's more technology involved now.
Well, it's funny you should touch on technology. I think it's an amazing time that we live in. We've seen it from, the Wild West days of digital marketing to somewhat of a much more mature environment. And that leads me to good old AI. It seems to be bursting onto the scene. I just wonder what your thoughts are on AI and where we're going with it.
Yeah, we use a lot of AI, but we don't rely on AI.
No.
So, I think where we've found AI to right now be the most beneficial is to help us with ideas, how to, write better. We don't let AI write for us, but we let AI do a lot of, like, for instance, if we're struggling coming up with topics to write for our clients, we do a lot of content creation in our agency. And we'll never, plug something into AI and say, hey, write this blog for us, and then just copy and paste it. That doesn't work. But what does work is having them create topics and ideas, and like we can create an ebook, for instance, and it will come up, all right, well, here's the chapters based on what you want to write that I would suggest. And then we can kind of build it from there. Sky's the limit for AI. It's probably the next biggest thing to come out, I think. I'm not 100% sold on it.
No.
I think it's being overutilized right now. There's a lot of people using it as a spam tool and using it kind of in the wrong ways. But the progress I've seen from it in a short amount of time is promising.
It's very interesting. Some of the most predominant people in the world that shall go remain nameless are taking certain people to court because it should have been a free tool, and then even though he was part of the pioneering group to introduce AI, as it were, things have changed, and then people are starting to make money from it.
Yep.
So it's a very interesting space to watch. Now, in the 21st century, Chris, if a business doesn't have an element, let's say a traditional bricks and mortar business doesn't have an online component, how much of a disadvantage is that for them?
If they don't have an online
If they do
component,
not have digital marketing in their business.
it's a problem, because it's just becoming more and more common for people to find whatever it is they're looking for
Yep.
using a digital asset. The problem, though, is that there's a lot of digital assets out there.
Yes.
And most small and medium-sized businesses don't even know where to start to, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, you put an ad in the yellow pages, you maybe do some direct mail, and that was pretty much your marketing campaign. It was easy. It was tangible. You could see it, your ads on page 46 or whatever. Today, there's 400 different places that you could spend ad dollars in a second. And if you do not really have a good feel about that industry or your industry or where your target market is really spending time, then you're going to be in trouble. And that's really one of the biggest reasons I started this agency, is because I saw that need. I saw the gap there of business owners just completely lost about this new digital trend of online marketing. And I was like, all right, I'm going to build an agency that's going to help bridge that gap, because it is there, and it's still there today.
So would there ever come a time, do you think, Chris, of the law of diminishing return? We're getting to a lot more people are aware of it. And I wouldn't say we're anywhere near saturation point, but do you think that it's becoming increasingly more difficult to say, just do good old SEO?
It is becoming that. In my industry, in dental, we've turned clients down because there are markets that are just so competitive that the amount of money that it would take to be competitive just wouldn't be worth it. And so what we see in dental sometimes is that there's these organizations called DSOs, or dental service organizations. They own 100 different dental practices. So they're huge, like franchise, corporations. And they spend a ton of money in marketing. And sometimes it's hard for local guys to compete with that. Now, 80% of the time it's no problem, but there are markets out there where it's super competitive and super saturated, and there is a limited return because, it's, dentistry there's a lot of overhead in it. And, it's not just about revenue. It's about, it's not how much money you bring in, it's how much money you get to keep. Right. And I think a lot of people overlook that. So I think it's already happening a little bit.
So I know that we're talking about digital marketing in general, but let's talk a little bit about Kickstart dental marketing. I know that there are a lot of different types of dental services. Can you just explain who your ideal client is for us?
Probably an ideal client for us is someone that knows that they need to market. I don't want to have to try to talk somebody into the reason why they need to advertise or market their business. It's just, if you're not there, you're not there. And that's just the point to where we are. It's somebody that's local. We do work and have worked with DSOs in the past, but we won't take on the big ones, for instance. So it's typically a local dentist that's looking to grow or looking to gain back a competitive advantage. Maybe they were the top dog in their market for a long time, and now all of a sudden there's 10 more dentists right around the corner. How do I compete with that? I'm losing my patients. And the reason for that is because these other dental practices are marketing, and they're doing online marketing, and they're doing it the right way, and you're not getting as many new patients in the door. So I would say, somebody that's willing to spend money, they know they need to grow and they need to be competitive, and they're definitely in growth mode.
One thing that stood out for us when we were doing our research on Kickstart was you were willing to not work with other local dentists for fear of compromising the work that you're doing. One, it was kind of a conflict of interest in many respects. That's a real credit to you.
Right.
Now, I wonder, you have decided to niche down. A lot of people on this call listening today, Chris, would be saying, I'm going to use the shotgun approach to marketing. I want to serve everybody. And I love the fact that you are so well focused on dental. How important is that niching down?
It's everything. And the reason being is, like I said, when I first started, I took on anybody that would pay me. So we had auto mechanics, lawyers, and dentists, and bakers, and all kinds of different stuff. The problem, though, man, is that you have to be an expert in an industry to really be able to market it effectively. Okay. And the only way to really be an expert in that industry is to niche into it and just learn it. There's so many nuances in dental, for instance, legalities, HIPAA in the United States anyway, that you've really got to know your stuff. And I believe, and I've seen it in the results, that if you know those nuances and you really understand a dental practice's challenges, you will make them more successful than just a general agency trying to figure it out. Because by the time you try to figure out an industry, it's too late. You've already gone through 6 or 8 months and a bunch of your clients' money, and you're not getting results. So for us, when we did it, it was a game changer in terms of the results that we could provide for our clients.
I think about relationships. I think about the fact that you turn other local businesses down because you have somebody nearby. How tell me a little bit about the relationships that you forge, and do you have long-term working relationships with these dental practices?
We do. Yeah. I mean, our average clients with us for years, not months. So we're really more of a boutique agency. We're not a big agency. There's 20 of us that work here. So, I mean, we're big enough to get things done, certainly, but we're also small enough to make sure that we're nimble and we can react quickly to the market and make sure that we're getting results for our clients. Right.
Yeah.
So our whole basis on our clients is relationship. For instance, this still is crazy to me, but most of the time when you try to call a digital agency on the phone, good luck. Some of them don't even have phone numbers, I don't think. But every time you call us, the live person is going to answer every time.
Yeah,
that's just the way I built this agency, and that's the way that we're going to do it. Does it cost me extra money to do that? Yeah, but I think it's totally worth it because that's exactly the type of follow through and the type of service that we want to give our clients, and how we separate ourselves from these competition of agencies. And nothing against them wanting to scale and get big and sell and all that stuff, but that's just not what we do.
That's not your positioning. I mean, I love the fact
that's where we build the relationships.
You have these human touch points. Do you think that we're losing because of the nature of online social nowadays? We're losing that ability to communicate, be with one another, be willing to shake a hand. How important is that to you personally?
I think it's very important, but I'm also not so old school traditional that I also realize that a lot of people communicate in a lot of different ways now.
Yep.
Right. So even though I prefer to do it that way, that doesn't mean necessarily all my clients do. So we have to be nimble enough and forward thinking enough and open-minded enough to be able to satisfy our clients that want to communicate that way, and want to communicate to their clients that way. Right. Yep. So that's where technology can certainly help as well. But, I do have some strong opinions on social media, even though I'm involved in that social media revolution, I guess. But I always think picking up the phone and calling somebody is just so much better than a text message or email or anything like that.
Well, tell me a bit about social. What part does it play for the dental industry, and how prevalent and how prominent should they be on social?
I think it's misused. I think social media is overhyped when it comes to marketing for dental practices. We get a lot of dental practices that'll call us and say, "Hey, I need to do more social media." And my first question is why? And they're like, look at me like, "What are you talking about? Facebook's everywhere, TikTok." I'm like, look, just by you posting that you're doing a $49 cleaning on your Facebook page isn't just magically going to make patients appear, right? No. Like, you have to think about this. Social media is very much a pay to play game now. They want you to pay them money to see your content. If you post something on your Facebook page right now, only about, 20, 25% of your followers are even going to see it. Right? They want you to boost your post, to pay some money to expand your audience, not just from your followers, but from people that are just surfing in your area on Facebook. So I think it's misunderstood. I think that a lot of practices and small business owners in general just believe that it's this magic wand, and if you do it correctly, then great things will happen. And it's just not that way. You have to blend it with other strategies, with content, SEO, and it doesn't mean you have to spend tons of money, but you can't just rely on one thing.
So paid ads would be in the mix there somewhere, would it?
Say that one more time.
So paid ads would actually be in the mix there somewhere?
Yeah, for sure.
So in terms of a typical strategy, how many different components? It'd obviously be paid advertising, landing pages, websites, lead magnets, all sorts of stuff. What sort of packages do you recommend? Or are they very unique, very, very tailored to each individual client?
We have core programs that we customize for each new client based on what markets they're in.
Ah, right. I've been doing some research and I saw some programs in there. Could you tell us a little bit about Dental Flow? What's that?
Oh yeah, Dental Flow is a way that it's really our lead verification service. So we have a team of people listen to every call to make sure that it's a good lead that's coming in for our clients.
Yeah.
And they look at every text message, they look at every message that's sent in to the practice to verify that they're a good quality lead,
Good fit.
versus just saying, hey, you got 400 calls this month, so we sent you 400 leads.
Do you know, like, is there ever a time, given that you are already looking for and disqualifying those who don't have an idea of digital marketing, had you introduced new dental practices or anybody else that you're working with? How do you introduce those who have a lower level understanding of digital marketing? Is there a learning curve for some of your clients?
Well, look, they usually come to us because they don't want to have to figure it out, right? They want to be dentists and they want to go see patients and they want to practice, and they want us to figure it out. So, we're experts at what we do. We let them be experts at what they do, and hopefully, we're filling up their calendars for them. So a lot of them don't really want to know. And quite frankly, the ones that think that they do know and they want to help guide the campaign, we don't really like to work with those folks. So
Yeah, no, that makes good sense. Now, I also I wonder about, when somebody's in pain or they want to get some work done from a dental perspective, what's the first thing that they typically do as a customer? Would they Google it? How does it usually come about?
Yeah, it's usually a Google search.
So,
Yeah,
and that's how
that's
that's where
how
the
it
flow
starts.
starts.
Yep, and that's where being top of mind is really good. Like with Facebook ads, because if they're seeing your ad pop up every once in a while,
Yep.
and they have that tooth pain all of a sudden, they're going to remember you pretty quickly.
Straight away, yeah.
Yeah.
And with the algorithms and, with Facebook not actually being free to get any exposure, you must be on top of ongoing education for both probably more so your team than yourself. Tell me, how important is that ongoing education?
Yeah, well, so we put every manager of each department in charge of making sure they're on top of the latest trends. So we have a Facebook marketing expert, a Google marketing expert, an SEO expert, a website expert, and they're the heads of their departments, and they're the ones really, and their folks underneath them are really responsible for bringing new ideas to the agency and kind of making sure we're out in front of the curve.
Yeah, there's so much that we could talk about today. It's just amazing how time flies when you're having fun. Now, you
Yeah.
do have complete end-to-end services. I'm just wondering, what typically does somebody get from working with you?
Well, typically they get more new patients.
Ah, beautiful.
That's the bottom line, right?
Imagine that.
Results. It does nothing else matters, and but results and getting new business and bringing new revenue in. So that's really what we focus on. So whatever it takes to get them there, we've got a lot of weapons in our arsenal that we can use. And with 15 years of experience in doing it, we've got a pretty good pulse on what works and what doesn't. So I remember back in the day, we used to talk about how many impressions an ad got or how many clicks, and we were all proud of it. And, at the end of the day, impressions or clicks, they don't pay the bills, right? It's the new patients that come in. So that's what we're focused on.
Now, I know that there is a plethora of different services that would go into making up that final result, new clients through the door.
Mm-hmm.
But tell us a little bit about your suite of services. Do you have website creation? You obviously got SEO, paid ads. Tell me a little bit about that side of the business.
Yeah, I think, all of those things you just touched on are hugely important, but it just really depends. Most practices anyway now have a website already of some fashion.
Yeah.
And then we start with evaluation of where are they currently, and then we identify any gaps. So is the website not good enough? Is their visibility on Google not good enough? Do they have enough reviews out there from patients? Are they getting consistent and predictable reviews from people? Are they creating content? Are they becoming an authority in their local market for dentistry? So we look at all of that and we identify the gaps, and then we put together proposals based on those gaps and how to bridge them, and that's how we move forward with them.
Love to get your feedback, Chris, if I could, on video. How important is having a video representing your business, at least on your website or on your YouTube channel or something like that?
It's hugely impactful because that's where you can see and feel the emotion. Especially in healthcare, people are typically looking for somebody that they can trust and that they can put their family through to be that they can trust with their family as well, right?
Yeah.
So video of, like, for instance, existing patients talking about their experience with a dentist is hugely impactful because you can see it, you can feel it. It's an emotional thing, especially like the before and after stuff. And video is just going to get stronger and stronger as platforms like TikTok and YouTube continue to grow.
It seems to me that with that increasing prevalence of video, that people love to watch video shorts because their concentration span's dropping. Is it
Yeah.
important to have video shorts as well in the mix?
Yeah, I like to. So we'll do like a long video, like maybe 15-minute video, and then we cut it up into segments of less than a minute.
Yep.
And then we can use those segments as ads on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, things like that.
Yeah, I've seen your Instagram. I love it. That's a great
Yeah.
site. I love how
Yeah.
you've done the buttons on top there. That just really
Right.
stands out. It's really well done. So if anybody is
Thank you.
interested, we'll be providing the links back to all of these websites shortly. Now, tell me a little bit about your experience as an author with The Ultimate Guide to Internet Marketing for Dentists. When
Mhm.
did that come about? And why did you write the book?
I talk to dentists a lot about being authorities in their niche, in their industry, in their markets, right? So I'm like, well, I need to practice what I preach. So if I'm going to niche down into dentistry and I'm going to be the expert, then I need to talk about it and give people good advice, information, and not just paid advice, right?
Yep.
So I wrote the book. It was way before AI. AI would have made it a lot easier, that's for sure. And I'm actually working on a revision of it now because that one was written, I don't even know how many years ago. So there's some updating to be done to it, but it's still very relevant. And it's not just for dental practices. Any
It's in general.
local small business could use a lot of those principles and hopefully and grow their business.
And that's a massive takeaway. Again, I want to just remind listeners today that this is digital marketing 101 in many respects, but there is certainly some advanced stuff here for you as a digital marketer outside of the dental arena. But when you wrote the book, did it take you a long time, and did you enjoy the process?
Not really. I didn't like it that much, honestly. It was a struggle. It took a while. It was, I don't know. I'm just not good at writing. It's just, I've got it in my brain. It's just hard to get it from my brain to on paper in a manner that people can understand it.
Well, it's a real credit to you. I have to say it's a credit to you because some people would fall short of the mark. And how did you feel when you finally realized that, hey, I've actually achieved it. I'm now an author.
Yeah, it's a weird feeling to see yourself on Amazon. That's for sure.
Yeah.
I joked with my friends. I brought like a couple copies of the book, and I was like, "Do you want me to do a book signing here, guys?" I mean, what do you? They made fun of me for that, but yeah, it was pretty cool to see that.
How did you know when it was ending? Like, because when I wrote my first book, I struggled to know if enough was enough. Did you go through anything
Yeah.
like that?
I was just so ready to be done with it, quite frankly. No, I mean, I had an outline of what I wanted to say and what I wanted to communicate. And I think once you kind of get to that last bullet point of what you want to make sure you get out, you get a feeling for it, I think, or at least I did.
You've shared so much great content on today's call, Chris. I really do appreciate it. But there's one thing I'd love to ask you. How do you feel when you see the clients that you work with, other human beings running businesses, trying to do the best, get results? How does it make you feel?
Awesome. That's, like I said earlier, that's what motivates me to keep going after 15 years. It's just really cool to watch, businesses grow, and that you had a direct impact on that.
Yeah, it's crazy feedback. Love it. Now, what happens
Yeah.
in the strategy session that you offer, and what's the onboarding process for those who are wanting to work with you?
Yeah, it's an evaluation, kind of similar to what I said earlier about just finding the gaps and
Yep.
things that, where I think they're kind of missing right now. So when they sign up, we get like their website and their practice name, stuff like that. And by the time we have the meeting, we've already got a pretty good report on what's going on. And then we offer suggestions on how to fix it. And we'll tell them how to fix it for free, but typically they don't want to mess with it or figure it out. So they hire us to do it.
Now, I listened to some episodes of your podcast. I really found them quite enjoyable. Tell us a little bit about the No BS Dental Marketing Podcast.
Yeah, it's been fun. I just try to take the fluff out of market. And again, this is another one in any industry. Go check it out, because the advice that I give there isn't just for
Oh, that's
dentists. It could
good.
work for any local business. But yeah, I just try to take all the fluff and the junk out of it. I'm not trying to sell anybody anything. I'm just telling them how it is. And if I owned a dental practice in today's society,
Mhm.
what I would do to market it, and the things that I would do for free and for some paid services. And we taught, like today, I just did one on online reviews, so that'll be out soon. And so I try to tackle a topic every week and talk about it.
Yeah, look, we've only sort of scratched the surface of all the different topics that we could possibly talk about. But make sure you definitely go and look at the No BS Dental Marketing Podcast. There is certainly a ton of value. And I know that it's on your website. So if people want to find it, where is the best place to go to connect with you, learn more about your business, and find the podcast, Chris?
Yeah, my website for sure. It's kickstartdental.com. You'll find the podcast, you'll find the free strategy session. And if you're listening and you don't have a dental practice, feel free to book a session with me, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. No money involved. Feel free to go ahead and book that strategy session.
Look, all the work that you've done today, Chris, is a real credit to you, building a wonderful experience for all of the people that you're working with. And I'd like to thank you for joining me on the show. Now, if you are listening into this show and you want to learn more, you want to get some more information about digital marketing, or maybe you're in the dental field, certainly reach out to Chris and his team at the website. I'll be making sure that the links back to Chris and his wonderful group of individuals are available to you below this post. No matter where you see this call, you're going to be able to find that link. With all that being said, Chris, what an absolutely fantastic call. Really enjoyed spending some time with you.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well.